Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion on this deep freeze of a day in northern Vermont. It is absolutely beautiful, though. It's about -5 million, and we have both wood stoves going. But you know, when it gets it's this cold, it's just so sparkly. And although, yeah, it's definitely, it's blustery today. Wow. Anyway, so my name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm really happy to have this chat. There's little G over there in his chair. He's got a blankie on because it's a little chilly, even if you got a fur coat. And so what we'd like to talk about is stepping out of the victim mentality. It's an important conversation to have, and oftentimes people think that we jump straight to like the severe end of the spectrum. Most of life is in the spectrum, right? So we've got, like, you know, sexual assault over here, and so somebody might be identifying as a victim, and then there's the whole middle, and then there's over here. So I kind of actually wanted to stay more over here, but it's all the same mentalities. And we're just disclaimer, not, obviously these videos are not in place of any kind of professional treatment. And I also want to say that that the mentality is the same. And we're not saying that whatever happened isn't legit and needs to be validated. Of course it does. To feel is to heal. We got to process all that stuff. We're just talking about shifting out of it. Shifting out of it so we don't reside there and identify there. And unfortunately, there are plenty of people out there who would rather cling to suffering than release all that energy, and coming from that needy, injured place to be in a place that's wide open, with an open heart, open for love, open for everything, open for creativity, and living your best life, because they just are so often so comfortable in that way. And a comfortable is usually meant in a good way, but not always. You know, I know what it's like to grow up in an addicted household, you know, with some mental illness and things like that, and then it's all normal when you're a kid. You don't know anything else, and then you go to college and you start to get out there in the world, and you're like, wow, how come that person just said something, you know, unkind or whatever, and it almost felt good to me, you know. And you're like, have to challenge that. You really got to challenge that, because your inner being knows it wasn't good. You know, you're valuable, you're worthy of being loved, you're all, but that snarky bad thing felt kind of comfortable, and it's a little bit of, you know, kind of in the trauma bond family of bittersweet, you know, sort of bonding with stuff that isn't healthy for us and stuff that hurts us. And so what do I want to say about this? Oh, okay, so we have the extreme kind of end. It's now, the reason I brought up the extreme end in the middle, because most of life is like that, right? Like a spectrum. However, the mentality is the same. So another, a less severe example would be, you go to head into work, and one of your colleagues, you know, has a face on, you know, like just crispy and has a pickle face. That's what I used to say to my kids. I have a pickle face on. And you say, oh, what's up? What's going on? Oh, well, so-and-so said this when I walked in, and I'm in a really bad mood. Or, you know, I just found out that, you know, she got the promotion over me, and I'm just really pissed off right now. I'm in a bad mood. Or my car wouldn't start. My partner took the other car. I told him I had this thing today, and yet I had to call AAA, and I was an hour and a half late, and now I'm in a really bad mood. No matter what it is, okay, even on the less severe end, when we have this mentality, okay, that the stuff out here is causing me not to feel good, this is not a good thing, because nobody else out there, nobody else can hurt our feelings. That's a big Wayne Dyer thing. Nobody can hurt our feelings. Think about it. They're your feelings. How can anybody, like, pull them out of your chest and take a hammer and beat on them? Can't. All right? We have to kind of allow them in. That's how it works. And nobody can ruin your day without your consent. Similar to what Eleanor Roosevelt said, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. So what happens when we're having these thoughts of this made me, and that caused this, and this caused that, and I'm in a bad mood because, and all that stuff, is we are living outside of our frame. Okay? Yeah, and you say, oh, do you carry that around with you everywhere? Well, not everywhere, but I do carry it around when I go and do talks and things about different subjects, but definitely for the victim mentality, because if somebody in the victim mentality is way out here, because when we're in here, swimming in our authenticity, feeling whole and complete, we don't really give a fat rat's ass what's out here and who's saying what, because what we think and feel about our own selves is what's the most important. When we're living outside of our frame, we become dependent on what other people are thinking about us, and we're valuing what they think about us more than what we think about us. And it's really important to get that. So those examples I gave you with the work thing, it's this one thinks that, it's that one thinks this, it's this circumstance and the promotion of the person, and it's the person took the car, and then it's all this caused my whole day. Well, the thing is, when we reside in there, we talked about the snowball effect. That snowball will keep rolling downhill, getting heavier and faster, the laws of physics, right? Just right downhill, picking up more whining and more complaining and more victim stuff than if we actually catch it. It's so important to catch it, okay? Especially if you can catch it before 17 seconds is over, because that is a research thing. Because it'll stop the snowball in its tracks, slow it down, and then stop it. So here's what I'm going to say about this, is about 95% of what we think, feel, and do is it coming from the vault of the unconscious mind. So if we think we're going to make any kind of positive changes and shift out of that without making the effort to go into the vault and catch when there's, or at least catch when stuff emerges from the vault and talk back to it, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change at all, because the brain loves to do what's comfortable and familiar. The brain loves patterns and repetition. So each and every time, if we're walking around on autopilot, which is the biggest thief of life minutes there could possibly be, right? It's going to say, oh yeah, look, we're going to victim mode. In fact, people are talking about the water cooler thing and the work thing, the lighter side of it, right? It happens I'm just going to use work as an example because it's just easier, because usually there's lots of people around, right? It also happens at family gatherings and just out in the world and bumping into people at the grocery store. But if your thing is being a victim, you're going to seek out other people with that same storyline. And let's stay with the less serious context, just for this example. You go to the cafeteria, there's politics going on at work, and I can't believe, and another good person left because those people, and then people don't even realize that that common bond, that us and them thing, around the victim, so they're reaffirming their victim dynamic that's going on. People might do the same thing with, let's say you've got a guilt dynamic going on, and you will naturally gravitate to people talking about that same thing. Oh my God, I just feel so, I can't shake it. I feel so badly about myself because I did this and I don't know how to make up and I can't. You will seek out other people that have a guilt vibe, a regret vibe, or a shame vibe. That's a strong one. Could be one of the strongest, if not the strongest, because it's the most excruciating emotion a human being can feel. So if we're feeling not enough and flawed and defective, we're going to naturally seek out those conversations with other people who feel flawed and defective. That's how it goes. So the same thing with the victim dynamic, which has pieces of those emotions anyway. So that is very unconscious. So unless we kind of bring it to the surface, become aware of it, it's going to keep going on and on indefinitely forever. And this is a short ride on this wonderful planet we're on. And so we really hopefully want to spend our life minutes as if they're cash. So stepping out of the victim mentality first takes awareness, just like anything else. We got to kind of get it that it's not working for me. This is no longer working for me. It feels like in some ways like it's working for me because I'm comfortable not being treated well, or I'm comfortable without my power, because the victim thing is all about powerlessness. It's an illusion. We feel powerful when we're in it, much like anger. We feel like, oh, we got the power, but really it's like got a half-life thing, and we actually have given up our power, right? Talk about the frame. The power is in here, not out here, just to be clear. And so it's very important to, first of all, have the awareness. Without the awareness, we cannot do what we do not know, or what we can't, see is happening, right? Once we have the awareness, we have the responsibility. My good friend Dr. Dave says that. And so it's also important to realize that if you've allowed this, circular negative internal dialogue to be going on, like a hamster in a wheel, for months and months and years and years and years, and not to blame yourself even more, because that feeds into that negative internal dialogue, to actually tell yourself, great, give yourself a pat on the back. If you're able to say, I love you so much, look in the mirror and say that to yourself. We are on a new track. We are creating a new storyline right now, okay? Then it's really important to be patient with yourself, because if that's been the deal since childhood or teenagehood or young adulthood or whatever, reinforced in the unconscious mind, it's a huge uphill lift, which we can all do, because the neurons, the brain is plastic. Not like Fisher-Price plastic, but malleable and flexible, and it wants to heal itself. So the good news, tell yourself, is we're on, we've just taken the biggest step in this process, which is becoming aware that this is no longer working for us. We want to become healthier, happier, and freer than to live our best life. And so then just realize it's a slower process. It gets easier and easier and easier. And that anything we practice, we get better at. So we practice releasing a lot of that victim energy, letting go of stuff, forgiving, and not in the sense that we give a pass to the wrongdoer for any of it. It could be totally legit and valid, and especially if it's an adult and a child situation. In that situation, the adult is always 100% wrong if there's a child involved. And to realize that forgiveness has not a thing to do with forgetting. People say, oh, to forgive is forget. No, it does. No, wrong. Okay, no. Because the brain is not like a computer in that way. And anybody who's experienced trauma knows that, because the memories want to do anything but go away, right? And so Claudia Black was and is a pioneer for the adult children of alcoholics movement back in the 80s. And I love her definition the best, because she's a little pint of peanuts like this big, because I'm a pint of peanuts, about my height. And she said that forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with forgetting. It has everything to do with remembering and choosing to move forward. So along that path, once we get it, that we don't want to be a victim anymore, we're going to move to survivor mode. Okay, change our words, because words are huge. You also want to be very careful. Whatever you put after the word I am, like even I am tired, because it's powerful. The brain is powerful. If you say I am if you say I am tired, if you're not, you're going to be. If you say I am depressed, if you're not, you're going to be, okay? So if you say I am a victim, you're locked into that for a while, okay? So it's very important to not say that. Change the words. Then realize that forgiveness does not involve forgetting, and it does not involve giving anyone a pass. That person might not even be on this earth anymore. It certainly doesn't involve an apology. You can't get an apology from a dead person. It's about taking control, getting back in our frame, and realizing I don't want this heavy weight anymore. I don't want to give the offender, the hurtful person, the person, the wrongdoing, whatever, I don't want to give them any more than they've already taken. I'm climbing back in my frame, reclaiming my authentic power. I'm going to stay right here. Thank you very much. That's what it's about. Change our words, okay? So we talk about ourselves in a way that's healthy and compassionate and loving. And it's important to catch it. And again, to try to catch it when you're saying these words and doing these things, preferably before 17 seconds is over, because it gets tougher after that. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Of course you can, but it just gets a little tougher. And then realize that each and every time you have a little victory, congratulate yourself, like, way to go. You almost stepped into that conversation to reinforce all your victim stuff, because you're comfortable with these people at work, and it feels so good when you leave lunch, because everybody's talked about how they were so wronged, and it's like a quick little, but then you just kind of did what was good for you and stepped away from it. Give yourself a huge pat on the back. Yay! Okay? And then just know that each and every time you have these little victories, you are freeing up more and more energy. You are freeing up your energy. You're actually opening your heart, because the mind and body are connected. The mind, so the language of the body is feeling, the language of the mind is thoughts. So every time you think these good thoughts, step away from those bad thoughts, because we've got to unlearn what we learned, clear out the crap before we can really relearn. We're kind of doing it closely together, right? But unlearn the crap, get rid of the junk, and relearn these new positive things. And then by doing so, we free up loads of energy. We open our hearts to accept love and joy and friendship and all these things, and also to create your own reality and live your best life. So step out of the victim mentality today. All right, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from my very chilly kitchen in northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.